What's up, G.I. Joe fans? Welcome back to the M.I.B. Master Toy Museum. I'll be your curator today. Guys, we got another fun one for you. Another historical walk down memory lane, if you will. And this beautiful G.I. Joe Action Pilot Masterpiece Edition, all the way from 1996, has a lot of not just sentimental value to me, as it does, but this was also the relaunch into the vintage style G.I. Joe action figures. These were taken from actual molds of the original G.I. Joe vintage figures from the 1960s and remastered, if you will, in the mid-1990s. So this is beyond the G.I. Joe Hall of Fame figures that we had at that time, and beyond the classic collection G.I. Joe figures that we had at that time. This was a definite salute to the vintage style G.I. Joe from the 1960s, and G.I. Joe fans ate it up. Now you get some mixed reactions after these figures were released, and some were good, some were bad. The style of the figure, the quality of the figure, all of this came into question. But when you think about it, you had G.I. Joe fans that, that grew up in the 1960s as kids that had the original G.I. Joe action figures, vintage ones. Well, they're vintage now, but brand new then. So they knew precisely what they wanted. They knew what they were looking for. But the Masterpiece Edition from Hasbro actually gave us G.I. Joe fans a glimpse and a small taste of having these beautiful vintage like G.I. Joe figures in our collections once again. And not only that, to have them in C10 museum quality, beautifully bound. This is we'll swing around for you. As you can see, this is in a booklet form. It's massive. It's extremely heavy. This is a collector's version. This was not meant for the younger demographic in no way, shape, or form. This was all about the collector, and Hasbro did a phenomenal job at really promoting this particular line. I did not find my set, and I got the entire set, and we did a Masterpiece Edition video on our astronaut, which is absolutely beautiful. But I did not get my set from Toys R Us. I got my set from a fellow collector, a good buddy of mine, years ago when these first came out. And he had a spare set that he wanted, that he didn't have a problem parting with. These were expensive for their time. I believe they were going for $30 or $40 at the time, which was a lot for a figure, if not more. But they've maintained their value and their collectability over the decades, as I should say. You're talking about a figure that's over 20 years old now. So let's open this beautiful figure up. It stands beautifully by itself. As you can see, we'll get you a blown out shot here. It's, once again, if you're a G.I. Joe collector, you absolutely, positively want these figures, these Masterpiece Edition figures in your collection. if you want to take these guys out and pose them, once again, I'm hearing both sides of the story, because we're a museum, and we're collecting and preserving the historical value of G.I. Joe. Our figures are for display only, mint in box C10 museum example, so they'll never come out. So we can do videos like this for you guys, and you can actually see how beautiful this box and the setup of this box is. But a lot of G.I. Joe fans and collectors say that the bodies did not measure up to the actual vintage body sculpts. As you can see, he's got the vintage hands. This is our action pilot, our African-American version. You can see he's still factory sealed in there. Everything is in place, beautifully done. I was excited when I got this set. I wanted this set so badly. You see he's got his manual and the stickers and stuff behind him in plastic. There's his hat. There's the boots. As you can see, even the boots, he's even tied down there. And then it comes with the book. A beautiful book, hardback book that tells the story behind the legend. An illustration of history of America's greatest fighting man. And it's all color, it's in color. And this is by the G.I. Joe creator Don Levine with John Mitlick. The molds that were used to recreate these figures was from Don Levine's personal G.I. Joe collection. How cool is that? Guys, if you're just joining us, welcome to the M.I.B. Master Toy Museum. This is what we do. We're hanging out in our museum, and today we have a fantastic G.I. Joe offering for you. The G.I. Joe Masterpiece Edition Action Pilot. And I love this orange jumpsuit here. See, he's got the two snaps on the side there. Guys, what do you think of our Masterpiece Edition G.I. Joe Action Pilot? Do you have this guy? Do you remember this guy? I can't believe that it's been over 20 years since I bought this figure, and he looks like he just came off of the toy store shelf. These figures sold very well because everybody wanted a taste of the vintage G.I. Joe. So they did very well. They sold very well at Toys R Us. We'll turn this box around in a minute and let you see the beautiful head sculpt. Paint job was done beautifully. They said a lot of the body near the joints and stuff had some cracking involved. We just don't know, because we don't, like I said, we don't take ours out. And if the cracking, from every collector I've talked to, said the cracking isn't severe. So you just have some stress fractures, but they're tiny. Nothing that can really hurt the figure. And maybe ours don't have it. You just don't know, and until you actually open these boxes and take these beautiful figures out and check them. So, but some collectors did just that. So that's how we get our information, guys. We actually visit other channels, and we talk to other collectors. I know hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of G.I. Joe collectors. So that's how we really compile our data, our information for our museum and for these videos. He comes encased in plastic, as you see. The book too. Everything is encased in plastic. So there's a plastic covering over top of him. Real zipper, not a string. Beautiful touch. Let's turn it. Let's see what's. I want to see if we can turn this box around. Our staging area is beautiful. We have this plastic down here, which makes it a lot easier to turn these boxes, especially when they're this big and they're this heavy. And here's the back, and get you a blown out shot here. Here's the back of our Masterpiece Edition G.I. Joe action pilot. And they have every breakdown of what's inside this box, what this box contains, the information on the figure, everything. Here's the information on the book. Here, relive your original adventures with your very own official reproduction of the 1964 G.I. Joe. And here's the breakdown of the figure, of the action figure. And here is a blown out look of all 4 branches here. And we have all 4 of these guys. Let's see if we can get you a year here. Oh, there we go. 1996. Absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. Beautifully. Look at this. Get you a year thing. Look at this age right here. Age is 10 and up. That's telling you. And I don't know too many 10-year-olds that bought these sets. I know a lot of 30-year-olds that bought this set. At the time I'm aging myself here. I was 26 years old when this set was released. So I wasted no time at contacting one of my collector buddies, and like I say, he had a spare set that he wanted to part with, and I got a fair price for these guys. And this breaks down you can pause your video here if you want to get some quality reading in there. And this was a unique combination of having the actual book. They all came with the book, and to have the figure as well. As you can see, all of this, the way it's beautifully displayed, lends itself to just being for collectors. Guys, we'd like to thank you for hanging out with us today in our museum, doing this awesome review on our beautiful G.I. Joe Masterpiece Edition action pilot. You know the routine, guys. God bless. And keep collecting.